Hello, everyone. My name is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of guests. And please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, and thank you so much for being here. And one more time, just recently we lost a friend to the community, Meredith Logren, a fantastic person, great supporter of indie comics and writing in general. She was just a fantastic human being. We lost her recently. She has a GoFundMe up. So please, if you can donate to that, please do. And without further ado, let me bring on all the guests, starting with our co-host, Mr. Lanning. How are you?
Hey, good evening. C. Michael Lanning, independent artist, worked for Silverline, Arrow Comics, and other things. Hopefully get some more stuff out this year people can take a look at. So, and I'm here to ask some hard questions. They were hard for me to come up with, so.
Nice.
Hey, I'm Patrick Kellner. I'm the creator and writer of Gage and the Dragon's Tear. Issue 3 is live on Kickstarter right now.
Nice. Hold on for a second.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm Damion. I'm Jimbo. I'm Damion Waldbrunn. I'm creator of Realm RX. I am manufacturer of many things toy related through O-Toys. I am also 1/4 of the Dastardly Dingoes podcast every Tuesday night on the Rising Tide Network. And awesome. That's what I am. I am tonight.
We'll see.
It's all subjective.
What's up, Carlos? How you doing? Introduce yourself, sir.
I am Carlos Raphael, the publisher of Champion Comics, reclining Carlos Raphael today. I got a little back issue going on, so it hurts to sit for a good while. So I'll be reclining for most of this, so forgive me. But yeah, the publisher of Champion Comics, The Remarkables, American Revere, Team Supremacist, and as well as a host of other comic books.
Cool. Javier, can you hear us? Yeah, he was having some technical.
Some crazy technical difficulties.
Gotcha. Can you hear us?
Is the okay on your end?
I think they check out my robots.
Yeah, I'm right.
Okay.
That my oh. There you go.
There
Oh,
it
you
is.
probably just having streaming. Yeah, you're on the phone. All right. Can you hear us, Carlos? I mean, Javier, excuse me. No? Can't hear nothing. All right. That's Javier Cruz. Was a fantastic book coming out.
So we need some closed caption. That's what we need.
There you go. Yeah, I don't think we can't hear him either. Yeah, you're like really breaking up.
Without the headpiece.
Yeah. All right. Damn. I don't know if you're gonna want to stand there for the next 2 hours, bro. So at least you can hear us.
I'm gonna try to make this work, I promise.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So, so we're gonna start off with the questions. I don't know if Carlos can find. I mean, Javier, if you can find some place. You guys move spots. I get confused easily. In my old dotage. So, all right, we'll start up. So, we've all worked with new artists or even new creators. It could be writers, artists, inkers, colorists. It doesn't matter. We'll eventually hire people on, and we bring them on. So, what's your best practices to break in a new creator, so that you're gonna work with, like a new artist, writer, whatever? Like, what do you do to try to facilitate that relationship and make it flow smoothly? We'll start with Patrick.
Oh, man, I'm terrible because I've only really worked with one artist. So as far as breaking them in, I don't have a whole lot. For me, as far as making it flow, I just try to give them a little bit of freedom to let them make their interpretation of what they're reading in the script and not be too hard line, like it has to be this or it has to be that. I always tell Donnie, if you've got a better angle or something on any of these panels, you're the visual guy. Do what you think is going to work, and kind of like I said, give them a little bit of space to move.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Now, we both worked with Donnie before, so
Yeah.
how do you pronounce his last name? Oh, okay.
Hadi with Jaja?
I think it's Hadi Jawa. I think it was Hadi Jawa.
I thought that too, but there's a W-I in there.
I
Hadi
know.
Jaja. But I've never spoken to him because he's in Indonesia, and it's just like,
Right.
so I've never heard him pronounce it. So your guess is going to be as good as mine.
All right, cool. Javier, you made it? Okay. He's setting up. We'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll move it. We'll move it to Damion.
I usually try to work with people that I know that I like their work. So I like to really just let them do their thing. Just let them do their thing and find a way to, because I think everybody's going to be different. Every situation is going to be a little different. So I don't have a set method. If they're I know they know their stuff, I let them go. I just let them have their fun, and then like we work together to make the thing, or not as they see fit. I like to defer a little bit when I'm working with someone because I usually do work as the artist, so I tend to let the writers, do their thing, unless I'm told otherwise. Mild eye roll. But beyond that, it's just find a method that works that individual, and then just keep going from there throughout the relationship.
All right, cool.
Not very explanative, simply because it's so different from person to person, I think.
Right. So let me ask you this question: what was the most difficult thing you had to break to a writer? Like, what was the thing? Like, hey, man, like, this isn't working. Like, what was that thing? And then I want names and dates, and I want photos too. No, I'm only joking, but
I don't remember his last name. His first name was Dave. This was well over a decade ago. Because I am traditionally the artist, I look for writers, and he wrote probably 6 issues worth of stuff, and it was completely wrong for the character. The character was, hacking and slashing his way through the world, and this was supposed to be like a teenager who and he, he had like a harem of women, and it was just like, I don't think you listened when we talked, so we can't use this. Let's start over. And so obviously I'm not working with Dave anymore.
Gotcha. Was he writing his
bullet? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Was he writing his fantasy Conan story? Was that what it was? He was like Damien's gonna draw it, and somebody's taking a piss.
I was like, what is that noise? What's going on?
Oh, that's my coffee. Sorry. I thought we meant that metaphorically. Just somebody's taking a piss, Just...
No. I was just...
So we went British for a minute there. What the hell? Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, that was my coffee. Sorry.
All right. Carlos, what do you got? How do you break in a new artist?
You mean me?
Yes, sir, Carlos.
All right, because we're breaking up a little bit there, but so it's evolved over time, but it's mostly like what Patrick said. At this point, I just let the artist interpret my script the way I work Marvel method anyway. It's kind of like a Marvel method / script. If I have certain ideas or certain things that I want to see, that I want the characters to be saying, I will put it in there. But mostly it's Marvel method. So the artist has that leeway. I find that way they're involved. The more involved they are, the better the product's going to be. So I like to give them that leeway. how I get them engaged is I typically will not start them on sequentials first. I'll have them do a cover, so I'll commission them to do a cover. That way they get comfortable with the characters, and they don't have to immediately jump into having to think sequentially. So that seems to be working. So it's gotten some really good covers, and it helps segue into starting the sequentials. But again, with the artist, it's just about developing a friendship, because I want that. I think that's important, to have a friendship going on.
Right.
So it's not so distant. This is even with people, as I deal with artists as far away as Indonesia and Argentina. And so it's building relationships, and then from there making that bridge into working on the sequentials and going from there.
All right, cool. Javier, are you situated?
Basically.
All right. There's a little bit of a lag there, but I think we can work through it. Did you hear the question?
No. I heard all the answers. I didn't get the question.
All right. So the question is basically, is that if you're working with a new writer or artist, how do you break in that new person? Like, what are your best practices to work with a new person?
Morse code.
Yeah. All right.
Either that or the little Casio keyboard, one of the two.
If he kills his camera, it may help with the audio.
Yeah, that's true. Javier, I don't know if you heard that. If you kill your camera, it might work, because we can't hear you at all. Okay.
I'll post another one.
All right.
Can you guys hear me now?
Now we can hear
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Okay. My schedule's all messed up right now, so I'm doing a bunch of different things all at the same time. So long story short, whenever I've done any kind of commission work, when I'm trying to do any kind of pinups or custom illustrations, I try to just ask as many questions as possible, just to try to get in the mind frame of the commissioner. I don't tend to see things the way other people do, so I always have to just try to get as clear of a understanding of what they want and what they're looking for, so that way when I try to put pencil to paper, I know where I'm going, and that way we have less editing that needs to be done, and then we can get that vision as clear as possible on the page for them.
All right, cool. All right, well, Stone Abdullah has a couple of things. I'm hearing robot voices, like Casio keyboard. Much better. All right, cool. Multitasking. There you go. All right.
Hey, Javier. And he's gone.
Oh man.
Oh well. We'll see if we get him. We'll get him back. Mr. Lanning, how do you deal with new creators when you're breaking them in?
Oh, well, when I'm doing, and I'm mostly dealt with writers, they have to give me a 5-page essay on each character. It has to be, really, I don't have a method for breaking anybody in. Honestly, I do tell them how I work, usually, but other than that, I've worked with a couple of different writers. Some are on hand, some are not on hand. So it really depends. It's an individual thing. I don't have a set method yet, but
right.
Who knows? Eventually
Okay.
I might.
So I mean, all right. You've worked with a couple writers, right? So what was the best method that you saw that one of these guys brought to the table?
One thing that for a writer, for me, is somebody who's involved. somebody who likes what they're doing, if that makes sense. I've worked with somebody before that I don't feel like they're all the way into the project. It was kind of I felt like it was a throwaway project. Here's a script, here's that, and we're done. But I do like to be able. The other writer that I enjoyed working with, I would do the layouts, and we'd actually have a StreamYard, and we'd talk about that and what he was looking for, and so on and so forth. And I like that approach because that feels more like teamwork to me than here's a script and go. But if somebody's going to pay you, I guess they kind of have the right if they want to throw the script at you and what have you. But I also have the right to not want to work with you again. So
right. All right, so we got a few more. He disappeared. We got Steve in the house. You get set method in 5 minutes. And then Connery, what's up, Connery?
What's up, Connery?
Yep. All right. See, you're up.
All right. Here I come. Ready? So is there such a thing as writer's block, or even for an artist block?
Mr. Damion, I'm just gonna call you R. R, you're up.
Hey yo. Here we go. Yeah, absolutely. Like without question. I think that some people's creativity is a little more mechanical, and so it's they're able to surmount those things a lot easier. I know for me, this whole week I've been sick, and I've literally sat there with my tablet, penciled already, and then put it back in because nothing came through. Like nothing was working. And then yesterday it was like ding, and I'm ready to go. So totally. And I know lots of writers who, they'll just keep going and going and going and going and going, and then like something about what they're doing will click in the wrong way and they're blocked and just can't get through that. So I think it's creative block is definitely a real thing.
All right, cool. Carlos?
It's hard because yes, yeah, of course it exists. For me, it's more like a creative drought because I don't really have a block where I'll go 2 or 3 weeks and it's like, damn, I can't think of anything. It's more of, it'll just be a drought where I'll go and I won't really be in the mood to create or I have to be in the mood to create. But once I get in the mood, once I put my mind to it, usually I'm pretty good at having the ideas flow. So thankfully I haven't really had a period where it's like I've gone a long time and it's like, man, I'm trying, but nothing's really happening here. Yeah. Plus I think it also helps it throughout for years. Anything that comes to mind, I write it down. So I try not to let ideas just disappear. So if I'm having a moment where it's like, I'll just go into my Rolodex pretty much, my notebooks, and then I'll be, hey, there's something that I forgot. Oh, this is cool. And it just kind of, and then that just kind of re-sparks the whole creative flow. Yeah. But so, yeah, I know it exists because there has been points in time where I've had colleagues go through it, but luckily or fortunately for me, it's not something that I really deal with too often.
Cool. Javier?
So for me, I can definitely feel what Thomas is talking about with that drought. You feel like you just don't have, your well has run dry. But I kind of equate it to a basketball player and their rhythm. When your shots are just not falling, it's like you shoot and shoot and shoot. You haven't hit nothing for a week, or you haven't hit nothing all day, and then all of a sudden you just you get that rhythm, and then all of a sudden you just start dropping everything you shoot. Everything you put up goes right through the hole. So it's the same thing for me with regards to writing and to drawing. It's like as long as I'm continuing to do it, I know that I might not be feeling it, like you said before. Like I might not be in the mood for it. I might be tired. I might have, so many other things going on in the world, but then, the more that I do it, the more I have that opportunity for that right rhythm to hit, and then it's just, you can't stop me.
All right, cool. Patrick?
I'm sure it exists. I've never been like a daily writer anyway, somebody that got up and kind of forced it to happen. I'm always someone who just like, I have an idea, I start exploring the idea, I follow it through and finish it out. But yeah, I can definitely think of the drought type situations where there's not a whole lot going on. And I know one of the things that slows me down is
Daddy.
Hey, just a minute, buddy. Apologize.
Okay. That was beautiful. That was beautiful timing.
Is when I know I've got an idea and I could write it, but I know I'm not going to be able to produce it because I don't have the funds set aside. It's not, it can't get on the schedule. That will definitely slow me down as far as producing and writing more stuff.
All right, cool. For myself, I don't suffer from writer's block. I suffer from writer's indecision, right? So it's like I'm sitting there and I'm like, do I go with this direction or this direction or this direction or that direction, And ultimately, I just like, I'll be like, to heck with it. I'll just pick the one I got to pick and just move forward. And if I have to sit down and fix it in the edit, that's what happens. I'll fix it in the edit. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's just I have to force myself to sit down to do it. That's usually the big issue, is like getting myself in the chair with Word open or in my little book writing. I just have to get myself there. It's not so much, that issue. Ted Davies says, good evening all. He says, shared. Thank you, Ted. Priorities. Awesome. And then which one is this? No writer's block. Always 2 projects or more on the boards. Oh, there you go. Ted got it under control. Nice.
So you get blocked on one, he goes to the next one. That's just how you do it.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes also the other thing is if you're working on one thing too long, it's sometimes good to cycle over to something else. Just start working on that other thing. I find if like I want to do something creative, I letter my books. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, I don't feel like writing right now, but maybe I can edit. If I don't feel like editing right now, I'll go letter. You know what I mean? So I'm always doing something, along the lines that's helping the project move forward, So I think sometimes that's how I have to work it. All right, there you go. Then is Ted says pivot and pivot. Exactly. Yeah. So you always got to pivot. All right, cool. So Mr. Lanning, it's funny, I didn't answer my last question. So
I thought about that. He's the host of the show. I'm not going to this show. I'm not going to.
I will put you on the spot just yet. So I'll answer my last question. So usually, what I do to break in an artist is I show them a clipper and I show them how a thumb can easily be removed. No.
That sounds like New York style.
No. Typically, it's just I'll send over a script and I'm fairly casual with the way I work with my artists. I'm one of these people where I'm like it has to be 3 panels or 6 panels on a page and grid format, and I'm like, no, just lay it out however you do. And I did my part of the job, you do your part of the job. Just make sure everything I want is in there. You know what I mean? Just make sure the dialogue all fits and all that jazz and the story flows. And that's pretty much how I work that. So that's how I answer my question. Mr. Lanning, what do you got for yours?
Well, to kind of add to the previous question, though, but that's the thing, is if I'm going to work with somebody, they have to be honest. And I don't mean they have to be able to tell me when they don't like what I've done.
Oh,
yes. Now, you're going to have people, you can't have people who are overly critical. I haven't really come across that very often, but I have come across people that, oh, yeah, this is good. And it's like, I feel like you're just like putting that out there and just kind of pushing it away. Like, this is good enough. Well, no, I like criticism both ways. I like, but as far as my question is concerned.
Gotcha. Well, hold on. Because I like that because look, because for myself, right? I'm like, I've always said it. I said it before. I've hand people scripts and I never ever get back what I want. Yeah. Ever. I get something different. That doesn't mean it's worse. Sometimes it's better. Yeah. It's just not what I wanted or what I envisioned. but that does, like I said, but my artists have continuously surprised me and made me happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they give me stuff and I'm like, okay, that's it. So I've gotten to a point where I try not to expect anything. Just give
Really?
me what you give me. And I expect good work. That's what I expect. But I don't, I'm not thinking like visually, like if I sit down and I say, okay, I'm thinking of this huge bombastic scene and all this stuff going on, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
You understand? No matter what, right? So I'm like, I don't go there. I say, okay, let them do what they're going to do and let me see what I get. And then I work from there,
It's funny because I posted just a few weeks ago, my artist, I gave him the script and he nailed it. So it's like, it was creepy that the angles, what I saw in my head, he actually was able to put that on paper. And then I put it out there on my Facebook and then had a bunch of people like almost get upset by my posting that, which was kind of to me, it was a weird reaction. Right. It's like, we want to see the script. We want to see we want to see what you mean. It's like, no, I'm not going to go that in depth.
Right.
Take my word for it.
If the creator and the writer is happy with it and he's overabundantly happy, he's happy with it.
Exactly. And it was so weird that people are like, oh, let's see the script. We really want to see if it's true. I'm telling you it's true. I put it out there for that reason. Right. And you were talking about the whole thing about an artist. Me, I don't play around. If the artist turns something in and I'm not happy with it, I tell them. It just happened literally within the last day, because my artist for Team Supremacist, I was telling you about the pages that I posted. He sent some alternate pages. And I'm like, no, dude, the one you did originally that I posted was actually getting a lot of good response. And you changed it. And to me, it wasn't as good. And I was just honest with him. And I was like, we're not going with it. So you kind of wasted some time where you could have been with the other pages. And I did tell him like that. So hopefully he didn't get too upset. But it's like you wasted a little bit of time because this re-envisioning of the page that you did isn't anywhere near as good as the original.
Yeah.
So he did the same page again?
He did the same page again. He actually did 2 pages again. And I'm like, you just wasted time that you could have been working on page 4 and 5 by going back and redoing.
Yeah. And
it's like, it didn't work. One, you left out elements that I specifically needed because it was characters. He left out characters that were supposed to be there because people paid in the Kickstarter for those characters to appear. And I'm like, so it was a panel where there's 8 characters lined up side by side. And then he turned around and changed and had it to where there was like 4 characters and it was close up. Yeah, it was more dynamic and you got a better look at the characters, but you just left out characters that I put in there intentionally because people pay to have those characters in the book. And that's why I have them in there. So, yeah, it was kind of, I had to tell him, it's like, you kind of messed up on this one.
This is true. So Ted says, I would think it's harder to outsource your artist than not being your own artist on the project. This is true, but not all of us are artistically inclined. So us poor writers, we have to rely on others.
Yes. The special.
Okay, all right.
the same guy.
So, Mr. Lanning, you have yet to answer the question, right?
Oh, dang it, man. I thought we forgot about that. No, well, 2 things, because consider that I do art and I do writing. Those blocks are different, really. It's for writing, I don't really have a block because to me, like especially if I was doing a first draft, the most important thing of doing a first draft to me is just getting the emotion, just getting it down, getting it what I want to convey. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be cringy. That's okay. I'm just, as long as I get that emotion and that feeling that I'm looking for on paper, even if I have to write it, and then they feel sad. That's fine. And then I'll work on that back in second draft editing and so on. So writer's block, I don't get too much if I really get it. For artists, though, it's a little bit different because for art, there's technique involved, and I know there is for writing too, but sometimes that technique comes in later on when you're doing your second draft and you're editing and everything. But for art, when you're trying to visualize something, the way you draw a circle, the way you do this, the way you do that, it has a tendency to trip you up. And that's how I actually used to have problems with writing, was what I was so worried about how I wanted this sentence to sound. You could stay on a sentence for hours. You could be George R.R. Martin still waiting around, to write the first page of the 6th book you've been promising for 20 years. But just to get that one sentence. But for art, you can scribble, but it stumps me because I'm thinking technique at the same time. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Well, to me, it doesn't. Ted says JD understood about outsourcing an artist. Just marry them. Problem solved. That's exactly what I did. Married my artist. All right. So let's move on. What is the best writing advice you were ever given? And we'll also change it to writing advice and maybe even art advice. And who did you get it from? We were up to Mr. Raphael.
It had to be me. So
All right.
I would say advice for art, and it would be Jason Metcalf has given me a lot of good advice over the years. He was the first guy that I really started working with on a regular basis. So he's given me a lot of great advice on layout, on how a page should look, on how to work with artists, how not to badmouth people in the industry, because you never know when you're going to end up working with them or need because I see that a lot going on Facebook pages where it's like, this guy sucks. And it's like, and the guy's trying to work in the industry. And it's like, man, that's one of the first things he told me is don't badmouth. Even if you don't like the guy's work, keep it to yourself. Because you never know when it's going to come around and you're going to actually either going to need the guy to get a job, or you're going to work with the person. So, and as far as writing is concerned, the best writing advice I got was Chris Warner was one of the guys that really helped me, because he was one of the first guys that took the time to read a script of mine. Because as a writer and not an artist, you'll find that, of course, it's very frustrating when you go to cons and the editors are doing readings for artists, and it's almost always about the artist. So you kind of feel left out as a writer when you're trying to break in at cons, and editors don't take the time to read even a few pages of your script. He did. So I'm always thankful, and he gave me a lot of great tips. Donna Barr, she was also great she actually even penned my script and broke down. So she took time. So I learned a lot from her. And then lastly would be Jim Shooter. Big Jim took the time to actually read my script at a con, which I never thought would happen. I went up to him. I was like, here's my script. Can you please? And he's like, all right, come back after lunch and I'll give you and I'll let you know what I think. And so he did take the time, and I came back and he was able to give me some pointers. And and actually we have kind of the possibility of Jim working with us on a power company project. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Right. That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it might be his we might be reintroducing him to the superhero genre. So we're really excited about that. We've been in communications. We're kind of in negotiations. But yeah, that's kind of nice that it's Jim, who was, again, one of the people who took the time to give me pointers and tell me, okay, you have potential here, and this is where you need work in your storytelling. And so I've definitely used the advice that all three of them given me over the years to kind of refine.
All right, cool. Javier, you got that? You're up, sir. You're up.
So for me, as a writer, yeah, I've been trying to get into the industry for a long time as a penciler, trying to make that work, and you go into like different panels and talking to different professionals. One of the things that I always used to hear was, practice your anatomy, try to get things done correctly. Once you get things done correctly, that'll help to inform a lot of the things that you do. And of course, I was I was at a panel with, well, now I'm forgetting his name. He did the new 52 covers, and he did Wanted.
J.G. Jones.
Yeah, JD Jones. Thank you. I don't know how I forgot that name, because his advice is probably the most important to me out of almost everybody. But don't worry about style. Everyone's like, oh, what's my style? I want to create my style. I don't want to do that because that's not in my style. And one of the things that he said that was really profound was like, don't worry about your style. Worry about getting it right. When you get it done right, that's when the way your mind interprets things, the way your mind envisions what's happening, that's going to be your style. So I took that to heart, and I stopped worrying about being the next whoever or being as good as whoever, and I realized I just need to get it done right. And then the other side of it too, where as a writer, I started opening up, was that in trying to create my own stories. A lot of times at the panels, like Carlos said, writers get left out. They ask questions and they don't really get a lot of attention. They don't get as much information. But the one thing that stuck was, even if you can't draw and you have a great script, use stick figures. Create your panels, however many panels you think is supposed to be on the page, whatever angles, whatever vantage points. Create that in stick figures, and then put your lettering in. It's gonna look crazy, but you're gonna be able to see the process and the ideas that the writers are trying to come across, and it's less bothersome or less time consuming than having to read a script. Because with a script, you've got like panel descriptions and lengthy things about like what's going on in the page and the story. But if you just have what's going on the page, your viewer is going to know where you're trying to go with the story, and then say, oh, I can imagine this artist on this story, or I can imagine that artist on that story. And because you have your vision on the page with your script, people are going to know what your writing capabilities are, how you direct the scene, how you move the camera, how you want your how you want your artist to go from a foreground shot to a background shot to a middle ground shot to a close-up. However you want to do it to make that story work, you're going to see that in the stick figures. So get it on the page, put it down, and it'll be a lot easier to digest.
All right, cool. Patrick, what do you got?
I'm amazed that you guys could get people to read something you've written. That's like, it seems like the obstacle that I had coming in right away was like, anybody kind of consequence wanted nothing to do with reading anything you'd write. And then people that didn't know anything were eager to offer opinions that were not valid.
Yeah.
For me, what I ended up having to do was like start paying editors. That was how I got people to like read and critique what I was doing, was get the checkbook out. So, I mean, can't think of any, all the advice or knowledge or whatever is kind of like reading the books, reading all the popular stuff about how to do it. And then just little, coming in initially, the little things like, how many words can go in a balloon, how many should go in a panel, that type of stuff. But I can't think of like a standout piece of advice I've gotten from anybody to share now, unfortunately.
All right, cool.
It'll happen.
Information like that is kind of critical though, like to know how many words go in a word balloon and how much. Like you don't want to have a page full of dialogue when you know then it kind of floods the artist's work.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then also things like how you actually label the script, like when you're talking about internal dialogue, how do you write that in the script? How do you break it down? So those are kind of the only things I can really think of standing out, because I guess maybe I'm still one of the newest guys into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause right at this point in time, I don't give a shit. So I just do my own thing, and I look back and I'm like, it was nice. And you and Patrick, that was 3 people out of 2 decades. So mostly it's like, get out of here, quit, don't bother me.
Yeah.
They don't want to take any time with a script. So
I've even had trouble getting people like, hey, here's a finished book, look at this. And they're like, yeah. Later on, we'll talk later.
So I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I'll call you. Don't call
me. Exactly.
All right, hold on. Let me put up some of these. Stone Abdul says there's some scribble art being sold for $5 million in the UK. Blows my mind. I don't know what that is. Might be an NFT. Edit and re-edit. Oh, and get an editor. Best advice ever given. There you go, Ted. Very smart. Argo, good panel hit. Thank you, Dan. Melvin says someone advised me keep drawing whether you're in mood or not, because every time you draw you discover something, style, stroke, etc. True. Stone says facts, Patrick. And then what is it? Stone says not giving a shit is a damn good advice though. There you go. Sometimes you just can't give a shit. It just has to be like that. Mr. Damion, you're up, sir. What you got? Damion?
Mute.
Mr. R?
Mr. Omniversal.
Yes, it would be Mr. Omniversal. Yes.
Omniversal.
But I missed the question. I'm sorry. What was the question?
What is the best advice you've ever been given as a writer and as an artist? And by whom? Or who?
As a writer, I honestly, Brian K. Morris, as a writer, basically tell me to shut up and write. Just write it. Just not in so many negative terms. Just sit down and write.
Right.
If you need help or an editor or something, let me see it. Just do it. Stop talking about it and do it. As an artist, best advice I ever got was in 1997. I drove, I don't know how, from Louisville, Kentucky to Columbus, Ohio was 5 hours, but somehow it was a 5-hour drive, no sleep, nothing but coffee, to show my ash can to Mike Rango. And did it and showed him the ash can. And he's looking at it, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't that great, and he goes, hold on, come here, sit down. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean sit down? He's like, grab a chair, sit down. And has a line of people. I mean, this is Columbus, Ohio, but it is a con, so there's still 50 people in line, and no kidding, he's like, come sit down. So I'm sitting down next to him. He goes, let me get through some people first, and I'll be able to take a break. And he proceeds to sign stuff for maybe 20 people. And he puts a sign up that he's on a break. And he proceeds to give me this short master class on how to put yourself out there and how to present yourself as an artist, and how to, if this is something you really want to do it. Say that you are an artist now. Have you done this? Then you're an artist. It's not something you're working toward. It's something you are. And he actually said he liked it, and it was wrong. That's how long ago. How long I've been working on this. he really liked it. He said, "You've got potential, but you've got to stick to it, and you've got to stop putting yourself down and putting your artwork down and pointing out the flaws. You've got to let who you are shine through your art. You've got to just keep going." And I mean, I sat there for like an hour, and he and I just chatted for that time, and we got to be online friends from there. So it was pretty neat. It was a good friendship, and he passed away in 2008. So
Who was this?
Mike Wieringa.
Oh yeah, Ringo.
Yeah. If you look at my artwork, you can see his influence. Like you can see it. He was just a really good guy, and he really liked building people up, and helping them be who they needed to be or wanted to be. And it's a sad loss, but that's probably the best advice I've got.
Gotcha. No, it's really cool. Ted writes, Damon, you are Da Vinci of resin, only company that does figures for Ted Davies artistry. Just saying.
Yeah.
Nice plug for you. Nice
Thank you.
Miss C.
Picked you up this time.
Yeah. So, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
I think probably the best advice was from a guy named Isaac Goodhart. He did a Postal with Matt Hawkins for Top Cow. He ended up he had won the talent hunt that they do every year, and he looked at my stuff and everything. And I don't have this this great cool story like everybody else does, but he basically kind of gave me the advice on what the editors are looking for in panels. Like for instance, every page needs to have a tilted panel, close up, establishing shot, and things like that. As long as you have that, then that's going to be viewed as professional. So that's something that I take, examining. And if you kind of go, I think he gave me like 5. I have it written down in practice, but and if you take it and just mix those together like a tilted close-up shot and everything, you end up finding that you can actually come up with some pretty dynamic and neat stuff. So that was probably the best advice I've gotten so far. I'm still open to getting more. So,
Gotcha. For myself, it was Stephen King from his book. He said, do your first draft, write it hard, put it whatever you want to put in, anything, put it all in, but be prepared on that second draft to rip it out. Okay. So he says, the first draft is for you. The second draft is the real thing, though. So that's that's where he says, be prepared to as they say, murder your darlings.
Yes.
Because that's what you're gonna end up doing. You're gonna end up taking out your favorite lines. You got this scene that you fell in love with. Does nothing for the story, so you're gonna have to just take it out because there's nothing for the story. There's nothing for the narrative.
Every time I hear that, I think of that Misfits song. Die, 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 my darling. That's what makes me think that. But
Die, my darling.
Yeah, he actually had a conversation with George R. Martin, which are two like polar opposites. And George asked him, "How do you keep writing stuff?" He says, "I just write. Why don't you just write?" So,
yeah. Sometimes in the end, that's all you have to do. You just have to just keep at it. Yeah. Miss Stode says, Stephen King drops mad knowledge. This is very true. Mommy, can I go out and kill tonight? There you go. I'll be honest with you. If I'm killing tonight, I'm not asking permission. Mr. Lanning, you're up.
all right. Let's see. So Neil Adams has said in the past in interview, you can only have one favorite artist. Hence, you can't have any one of my favorites, but you can't say, "Oh, one of my favorite artists is," or "One of my favorites are." You have to have one. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, and can we add who is your favorite artist?
Sure.
Javier, you're up.
So the best advice that I was given is the question the best advice I was given?
You broke up. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, the best advice.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Don't stop. You know, you got so many people that want to make it to a certain level of success or whatnot, and they haven't achieved it, and they get frustrated, or they get, you know, they feel down on themselves, and sometimes they stop and move on to other things. And the best advice I was given was just keep going, no matter what. If this is what you really want to do, you're going to do it. So you just got to keep doing it until you make it happen.
Never give up.
Never give up. Did I skip you, Javier? I didn't skip you, Carlos, did I?
You skipped Javier. You didn't skip me.
Sorry,
You
no,
skipped
cause-
Javier.
No,
Sorry
his,
about that,
his
Javi.
advice was about keep the style thing. He said,
Oh, okay.
He did. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, well, Javier, Mr. Lanning, ask your question again.
All right. The great Neil Adams has made the statement before. Yeah, you can't have more than one favorite. And in fact, I'll even be a little bit more specific. He even said it's almost like telling your girlfriend, "You're my favorite girlfriend." You can't do that. So, do you believe that that's true? Can you have more than one favorite? And if you do have a favorite, who is your favorite?
So my favorite is definitely Ed McGuinness. I always sing his praises. Right after him is Arthur Adams. Yeah, I can say that I have a multitude of favorite artists, but they all hit different flavors. It's like saying I can't go to an ice cream shop and I can't choose, you know, from this batch today and then that batch tomorrow and that batch the next day. But I will say that I will always go back to, you know, when I'm just in the mood for ice cream, I got that favorite ice cream that I always go back to. But also with regards to the girlfriend, that's why you don't get married.
There you go. Nice. Patrick, what do you got?
Oh, can you have more than one favorite artist? Well, what if you got different artists working in different mediums? I mean, isn't that a consideration?
Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would think you could. As far as my favorite artist, probably when I was reading comics in high school, that was kind of the Jim Lee breakout era. So he's right in the sweet spot for me on that. So I'd say Jim Lee's probably one of my favorite artists.
Cool. Damion?
Yeah, you could have more than one. That's nuts. I mean, I like different artists for different reasons. Top of my head, too. Pascal Ferry. Love his line work. I love just the kineticism in his artwork. And Jim Moffat. Same things, completely different style, completely different methodology. I mean, when he said he would do a black and white piece for me for a smaller than I thought amount of money, I was like, yes, please. And I just recently paid off that credit card that I put that on. It was worth that much to me. I think it's on the cover of the omnibus I sent you, Jim. That wasn't a hint, I was just saying. But yeah, I mean, I like different artists for different reasons, different writers for different reasons, and I think nice. I colored that, by the way. And I think it's crazy to only have one, or to say that people can only have one. Not that I'm calling Neil Adams crazy. I'm just saying.
No, I can't imagine.
Listen, the man is a little crazy. You're not saying he's an idiot. He's not an idiot. He's a very intelligent guy, but he is a little crazy.
Hollow Earth. Yeah.
30 years ago, we had a bunch of artists break out into their own company because they were all our favorite artists.
Exactly. Mr. Raphael, what do you got?
So I can see where Neil's coming from a technical standpoint. You can only have one favorite because that means it's your favorite. So like my favorite band is Journey. I can't have two favorite bands because from a technical standpoint, it's Journey. Right. Now, can I enjoy more than one band? Yes. So I can see where he's coming from a technical standpoint. But from the other standpoint, yes, I have many other bands that I enjoy that fall under that. So you got Journey and then a list that goes under those. So I don't know what you would call those as sub favorites.
Sub
There you
faves.
go,
There you
sub
go.
faves. There you go, sub favorite. And my favorite, man, that one's tough because it always flip flop between either Walter Simonson or Art Adams, just depending on my mood for the day. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be Arthur because he's got more work. Because Walter kind of slowed way down. At least I have covers with Arthur, even though he hasn't done a lot of. Walt's done Ragnarok, and that's about it for the last 15 years, at least. So I probably lean towards Arthur just because he's done more stuff, at least recently, than Walter. But his Thor run from 337 to 380, whatever it is still my favorite run of all time. So,
all right, cool. Hold on, let me put this up. Don't stop believing that Journey is your favorite, but if you wanted the best, you'd get the best. The hottest band in the world, Kiss. There you go. Thank you, Dad. Yeah, I have to agree. I agree with Carlos said. Javier, Arthur Adams. Arthur Adams is perhaps my favorite artist. It's rough because, yeah, man, it's like, yeah, it's art. There's just like this thing that guy does is just, masterful, yeah, but like for me, I'll give my close second will probably be Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah, I love Bernie.
But damn, just art, the stuff that he can do on a fantasy level is just crazy. Like the guy can do everything. There's nothing he can't do. So it's just a little nuts. And then Dan wrote Art Adams towards the top of my list as well. Yeah. And it's just so many guys out there. It's just like, damn, who do I choose? Who and listen, I had my what happened?
You remember he has Guardian Tales?
He has Guardian Tales. Oh, is that the you're talking about the X-Men annuals that he illustrated? Oh yeah.
That's Guardian. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, what I would like to see is his alternate Fantastic Four when he did those 4 issues of Fantastic Four. Where was it Thing, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and no.
It was Wolverine.
Spider-Man and Wolverine.
Yep.
But it was Ghost Rider as well.
Ghost Rider, Hulk, Wolverine, and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, right.
That's Ghost Rider, who's now like the king of hell. Or was the king of hell sometime.
Well, they're bringing it back they're doing something with it in the next couple months.
Well, it'd be nice.
Because he's doing covers as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they reprinted it, colored it nice, and then reprinted it. That'd be really nice. Because they reprinted the Guardian Wars, but the coloring on it was just horrendous because they used the old coloring on really glossy paper and it doesn't work. So it's just like they have to update the coloring to match, the modern day printing because it just doesn't work. I was just like, what the hell? Because it looks really garbage.
I just bought those issues off of eBay a few months ago because it's Walt and Arthur. Yeah. I got the best of both worlds on that one.
You did. I hopefully still have those in my collection.
The only thing that brings tears to my eyes about it when I open it is the fact that Al Milgrom did some of the inking on that, and
Al could go one of 2 ways. He had his good days. It could go either way. I think this was your question, Mr. Lanning. What do you got?
Well, true. What Carlos said is absolutely true. You can't have a favorite by technical definition. It's your favorite. It has to be one. It can't really be more than one. Well, unless it's a band, but still, it has to be one. But yet, I agree with Damion. I have multiple. So what do I do with that? I'll tell you how I do. this is how I deal with that. Compartmentalize. Okay, I have an artist that I like his style, so he's my favorite stylish artist. I have an artist that I like his sequential, so he's my favorite sequential artist. I have a cover artist that I like, so he's my favorite cover artist. Yeah, Neil, I got your number, Neil.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's how I saw that. Now, over overarching artists, he has good sequentials, but he's not my favorite sequential artist. But one that I always come back to is Humberto Ramos, who is very much influenced by y'all's favorite. You see how Southern I am. Y'all's favorite, Art Adams. So, but for Humberto, I've been with Humberto since at least since Crimson and maybe even Hardware. But I guess he's my favorite reoccurring artist that you've actually seen progress over the years.
You should check out his Impulse. His Impulse is good.
Impulse is good. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
His he did a Hardware and he did a Gen 13.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that I didn't catch him then. That's all I can say.
DV8's a little rough. It's when he was still getting used to, if you see his Spider-Man stuff, he's been one of my favorite artists for a while. Yes, one of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
His art style just progresses over time. But you can see he's the one that's getting stronger. He's the one I like what I'm doing better now.
Right.
He's trying to meet an aesthetic early on that he can't meet because he's a certain style.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to meet it because what he does is good enough. You can see him getting more confident with his artwork over time, which is why he's a great artist to from an upcoming artist or looking for somebody to look at. Yeah. Like, hey, somebody who went through this like I did, go look at this guy.
Oh, absolutely.
You can see it.
Well, and see with him also, he's not afraid to tell you who his influences are. You'll find a lot of artists don't want to tell you who their influences are because then you'll see it in their art. But for Humberto, he's more than happy to show you Art Adams, Carlos Meglia, those, and he's just open about it. And I guess he would be my favorite inspirational artist. Let's put it that way.
He's in my DNA because the artist that I've worked with on Remarkables, that's one of his main influences. So if you look at the art style on Remarkables, you're going to see plenty of Humberto Ramos in there. So and Spider-Man's the one that Impulse and Spider-Man were where I really got my introduction to Humberto.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so here's one for you guys. What is the worst business advice you'd ever gotten in comics, and did you test it? So, meaning, did you try it? Despite what this person told you. Who was up next? Was it Patrick?
No, it's Javier.
Okay, so Javier. You're up, sir. You're up. What's the worst business advice you ever got in comics, and did you test it? No?
Whatever bad advice I've been given, I've always, thankfully, I've left it by the wayside.
Okay. Well, what do you remember? What was that bad advice?
Come back to me. I'll think about it. I try not to keep negative thoughts in my head, so I'm gonna have to mind those thoughts.
Okay, cool. Patrick, you got anything?
Yeah, I guess it wasn't necessarily bad advice, but it was bad advice for me, which was like, your first book, go ahead and print 1,000 copies. And it's like, I didn't have any immediate plans to do cons. I have almost no audience. So that would have been a lot of books just kind of sitting on a shelf here. So I did not test that bad advice. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily bad. It didn't fit with me and what I was doing at the time.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I got you. Damion, what you got?
I am not going to make any friends by saying this. No, because some people are so divided on the topic that it's strange how upset it can sometimes make people. I may make people upset, and I apologize in advance if I do.
So how much money are you making on NFTs?
Kickstarter getting started. Doing licensed artwork, doing drawings of licensed characters. I was going to cons, and I didn't have a new book out, so I was mainly just reselling what I already had and just doing sketches on the fly. And I was making decent money doing commissions and some sketches. I thought the next con I go to, I should do some posters. And I was told, do not do it. They're going to come after you. They're going to sue you. It's just morally objectionable, and you should feel bad about yourself for even thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I won't. And I didn't, and I didn't make any money. And I got upset, and I said, screw this. I'm going to start doing posters of licensed characters. And the very next con I did, I made $1,200 on posters. And I can't turn away from that as a working artist. I don't claim to own the characters. They're obviously not my characters. And if anyone from the companies that I did characters for came and told me to take them down, I would in a heartbeat because I'm getting sued. But I'm still going to do it because people like my artwork, and they like my artwork of these characters. And it's something that I have a Spider-Verse set that I've done, all 6 characters from the Spider-Verse. Original poses, which is hard because the robot, there are not good pictures of that damn robot. This was completely hand drawn. This was not that I've sketched anything.
And you can't screenshot Netflix anymore. I mean,
you could sit there and burn your eyeballs out looking at a panel like I did, like just okay. All right, click. And I sell it for like $25. Like, I don't make a huge profit off it, but I make at least double what I paid for the posters for.
Right.
And I don't see anything wrong with that because I'm not tracing artwork, sketching artwork. It's all original. I draw everything, color everything. I come up with original compositions. Everything from the ground up is totally out of my brain, with the exception of the physical design of the character. Now, would I do any independent characters like that? No, not without the permission of the creator. Because that is somebody that I could go to and say, "Can I have permission to do this?" And maybe at the next con, maybe I'm saying too much, and the next con they'll shut me down. I'm just saying,
my Yola will come after you anyway.
That's true. It was following that advice that. Or turning away from that advice that made me feel like, okay, I've learned something now. And it actually drew more attention for my books and my stuff, to the point where now I have maybe 10 posters and mostly my stuff. My posters, my things, my books, stickers, T-shirts, whatever I got random that I could make and have fun with and put out on my table. So I'm finding that balance, that more 75-25 balance.
So you've gone from making $1,200 to $300? Is that what you're
I still make a fair amount of money on the posters. I'm just, I do want to focus on my things as well. So now I'm sort of shifting away. And with the toys, I do more,
Right.
But again, even with the toys, I did some, my wife and I did Alligator Loki. Little Alligator Loki sitting on his butt. Made a little terrarium thing with a dome, and people loved it. I mean, we sold them for like $25 a pop. And I'm not looking to screw Marvel out of anything or DC out of anything. If they want me to stop, I will. But I don't see anything wrong with me doing that. What's the difference between me doing that and somebody making costumes and selling them?
Well, I've actually heard several different people doing that, and they've actually had that company come up to them, Marvel, Disney, whatever the case is, and gotten jobs from them. I've actually heard Disney hire somebody to do art for something, or Marvel to do art for somebody that way. And I think what the key thing is taking somebody else's art and then repurposing it. That's one of the big things.
That's to me. I mean, obviously, we all would agree that's probably objection.
Yeah.
And even people that will take things and like apply them to wood and then wood burn them and things like that. I'm like, you're still kind of ripping off the artwork. You're not coming with an original composition of your own for that character.
Let me hold on. Let me ask this real quick, because I had a friend. He would ink stuff. He would ink. He was an inker. He was an up and coming inker, right? And I saw him do something interesting. He took a pen, like, you know how Marvel, they give away the sheets so that inkers can practice, right? So he took a panel. I think I forgot his name, but he was an X-Men artist, and he took this panel. I think it was Nightcrawler. He just took one panel, blew it up, right? Inked it, and sold that sucker for like $500 or something, right? Because it was just a panel. It was never meant to be like this. You know, how do you guys feel about that? Like that sort of thing? Because I was just like, you know, this is, you know, it was, he changed it, right? It's no longer in the format that it once was.
Did he credit the original artist?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I think it was Chris Bacala. I think that was the original artist.
This is the thing, and I have a story that it ties into what Damion was saying, because it comes back. So Javier and I have the mutual friend of Jason Metcalf, and that's how he makes he has for 20 years now. That's how he's made his livelihood. He goes to cons and he sells the prints, and he makes thousands of dollars per show, and that's how he does it. And when he told me that advice that I had mentioned earlier about not shit talking people, it was because I got into it with online with Joe Quesada and oh my goodness, the creator of Jimmy Palmiotti, yes, because at the time, Bleeding Cool had put out an article about exactly that, the people reacting negatively to the whole selling prints and posters of Marvel and DC at shows. And there was this point where they were trying to shut that down, and people were mad because the conventions were not pushing back. And it's like, that's because they're making their money off of those guys selling those prints, buying those tables. So they were not going to bite the hand that fed them. But I got into it with them because they were like, basically what Quesada and Palmiotti said was, if you work for Marvel or DC, you got the right to do it. But if you don't, if you haven't cracked that code, then you don't really have the right. And that's where I went at them. And I was like, that's bullshit, dudes. And of course, and it's like, my buddy's been doing this for years, and he hasn't worked for either of you directly. But you're saying that some guy who got one assignment with Spider-Man 20 years ago has more of a right to sell than he does just because he worked for the company for a short bit. And then I told him, and he was like, damn. And then he went back and read the comments. And he's like, you shouldn't have done that. You're trying to break into the business. You don't go toe to toe with those guys. And I'm like, so I went back and deleted my shit, which I was smart enough to do. But yeah, that's been a area of contention for quite some time. But if, of course, according to Marvel or DC guys, if you work for them, then hey, you have the right to take that panel, blow it up, and sell it. But if you're just an indie guy, then no. Which I think is just ridiculous. But the worst advice that I've gotten, oh shit, I had the idea, but Damion sidetracked me. So
Sorry.
So now I forgot what the hell was that. What was my answer?
Listen to me. That was the worst advice.
Let me see if I can remember it. Well, Javier is frozen. I would. Shit. I guess I can always come back.
Well,
Javier,
let me ask Amy the question there. Though, doing the posters and everything that you were doing, though, did that attract people to your table more? And if so, were they buying your original stuff also?
Yes, and to both.
Okay.
Because a lot of times if they came and they liked a poster, but they didn't, they didn't want to, they didn't want a poster, but they said they saw a comic and they'd buy a comic. I'm like, here, well, here's the poster. Like it was I worked at FedEx for a while, so I know how to get things cheap from them. And I'm not gonna I'm not as skilled as JD, but I worked their system a little bit, and so I was able to do that. And so I could sell a poster and make enough for 3. So I had posters that I could, I could sell a certain amount. Know that was everything was paid and the rest was profit. So it came out of profit, and somebody was interested in like, oh, here's this cool poster of Loki, but here's this really cool comic you made. I'll buy the comic. Oh, well, here's the poster. It's just an add-on at that point. But as far as just selling any one item, I am not going to lie and say my books sell out every time, because they do, but they don't on occasion. When you make 50 books, selling all the books isn't hard. Yeah. But, I literally, the first time I made the posters, it was $1,200. I made my con money back. I made my hotel money back. I made all my money back. And I'm like, I don't see how this is feasible to continue without this new revenue stream. And again, I mean, I know that I don't have the copyright, the license to do these things. And if someone were to ask me to stop that worked for those companies, I would stop. Totally. Because that's their prerogative. But then, it is what I don't know. It is what it is. It shall be what it shall be.
And I remembered mine. The worst advice that I've gotten is pay the artists in advance, man. It's the right thing to do. And it's like, no, it's not the right thing to do. And people don't understand. And man, I posted this before on my Facebook, and the responses, some of them were like, burn in hell, fucker. It's like, and then I point them to the fact that Eric Larson went and basically said anybody who pays an artist in advance is a moron, because nobody at Image pays anybody in advance. Nobody at Marvel has ever paid anybody in advance, and no one at DC has ever paid anybody in advance, because that's not how the business goes. The artist does the work, turns in the invoice, and then you pay the invoice for the work that was done, and then they give you the high resolution files, which is how it's supposed to work. But right. I was an idiot and said, oh, okay. And then I ended up behind the 8 ball $2,000 because the artist got paid in advance and then disappeared and didn't turn in any artwork, or started 3 or 4. I have a vault of stuff where it's like projects that were 3 or 4 pages in and then they disappeared. So I'm like, maybe one day I'll release it, the money pit, I'll call it, and print all those pages. But at this point, it's like, no, anybody who knows me knows that's not going to happen. So don't ask for an advance. Now do the work. If you can do it as quickly as possible, then great. Then turn in that invoice and I'll pay it. But I'm not going to pay you in advance because that's not an industry standard. And even though I may be a smaller indie or a garage indie, as I call it, but I'm still a publisher, and I'm going to work by industry standards, which is you do the work, then you get paid when you're done with the work. And then I pay you, and then you give me the high res files, and great, we can move on, because I can't do anything with low res files.
So which artist gave you that advice?
It's tough to hear that kind of happen because as an independent artist myself, if I'm tasked to do any kind of art, now setting aside paying stuff for stuff that I could potentially be paid for. And it's like how you got screwed by the artists who took the money and ran. There's people that I said, yeah, I'm gonna pay you X amount of dollars, get some work done for me. Then you do that work, and they're like, so what do you think? And then you don't hear nothing from them. And you did all that work, and then you took all that time, and now there's nothing to show for it.
You're right. It happens both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
It's a double-edged sword, you know?
Yep. Carlos, I was going to ask you, so what artist gave you that advice?
I can't say that.
But it was an artist, though, right?
It was an artist. Yes, absolutely. It was an artist because what Javier just touched on, it's the reputation of the small indie that where people are wanting. Okay, since you're a small indie, there's a risk involved, and since there's a risk involved, we're not going to go by industry standards. So there is that double-edged sword, but at the same time, it's like, man, you got to protect yourself because once that money is gone, that money's gone. And so
I always ask for like a small deposit.
Right.
I'm waiting on a guy who wanted me to do some character designs. I'm waiting for him to paint me. He came upon a hard time. His lady just had a baby. He ended up getting sick. He doesn't have the money right now. So I said, okay, just give me what you can when you can. But it's like, had I not gotten a deposit from him, had I not gotten nothing from him, I'd be sitting on my tail waiting for the next, with the money from him.
Now
and that's not the first time that's happened.
I will do a deposit if I know the guy. If I've worked with the guy for a while and I know he's reliable, and he's like, hey man, I need some money right now. Can you help me out? Yeah, I'll do that. But for someone that I just started working with, no, they're just gonna either you're gonna have to trust me as the publisher, or you're gonna have or just say no. I don't want to do it. But yes, I just had that happen to one of my artists who
that's why you said the reputation makes a difference too, because like you have a body of work, you've got a body of you have a catalog. So it's not like people are gonna say, oh yeah, you're just gonna ship me out of this work. You're gonna take me and run. You have a reputation, but like if it's someone that doesn't have a reputation for that I can refer to, that I can ask their former clients, it's like, yo, you gotta hit me off before I hit you off.
Yep. I tend to work like, let's say if I'm doing sequentials with an artist, I say, listen, we'll do 5 pages at a time. I'll give you half up front. And that usually works out because then that way, they know, and then I'll pay them on the back end. When those 5 are done, I get my files, I give them the other half for the next 5. And then that's how we work it, and it worked out well for me, because it's like if I lose half of those 5 pages, I'm fine. It's not a monstrous amount of money. You know what I mean? And if it is, I made a bad deal. So I was hired way out of my comfort zone. Mr. Lanning, what's the worst advice you've ever gotten, and did you ever test it?
Not getting paid in advance. No. No, I can't think of any advice right off the bat right now. I've had bad experiences, like, oh, you do this, and this is going to work out, and it doesn't work out, and that kind of thing. But nothing. I can't really say bad advice per se. Not yet. I'm sure it's coming. It's out there.
Gotcha. The worst advice I've ever gotten, and I have tested it, is kid, you can make money in this comic business. So yeah, that's what I'm still testing it. So we'll see how it works out. That's all I got, Mr. Lanning.
Let us know how that works out for you. All right, guys. What outside of comics has influenced your creating? What do you look at besides comics that influences you to create, inspires?
I think Patrick was next.
Okay, and sorry for the screen guest here. It's bedtime and Mom has not made it home yet.
No.
No, anytime he runs on, I keep looking behind me like it's one of mine. So don't feel bad.
I mean, I would say any storytelling medium is an influence on me creatively. So good movies, good prose writing, anything of that nature is something that's going to influence what I do.
All right. Cool. Mr. Damion, you're up.
Anymore, I'd say music.
Okay.
Music really inspires me. It can elicit a mood that I need or want to convey into my art pretty readily. I was going to go with like animation or something like that, and yes, it is, but it does. I think music is a lot, for me, a lot more solid of an influence. I mean, I have a mix of like 200 songs, and they're the same 200 songs I listen to every time I draw. And granted, it's 200 songs, but after a while, you've heard all 200, and it just. But they're all sort of curated and picked for the mood that they elicit in me to kind of keep me going, to keep me revved up. So
you have that problem like I do. Like you try to think, oh, I want to listen to a new song, but I don't know what. I can't think of anything to listen to.
Every once in a while, you find something, you're like, oh, this is really great, and it just goes on the pile.
Yeah.
True. All right. Carlos, what do you got?
I'm gonna steal Damien's because it's music. And if anyone who's a metalhead and reads my stuff, if you pay attention, you're gonna pick that out because there's a lot of different things from music, especially metal bands, that you're gonna find. Whether it's a character that's named after a song or a band. Or an album that's or characters that are named after albums, you're going to find those in my work. It litters that. So music is definitely an outside source of inspiration. And then the other one I would say is Marvel movies. Every time I see a Marvel movie, it inspires me. Doesn't matter. I don't think there's ever been a dud. I think there are some that are much better than others, but I don't think at this point that there's ever been a true dud. So anytime I watch one, I walk out and I'm inspired by a lot of the sharp writing, and it helps, and it makes me want to strive. Okay, I want to hit that kind of writing. That's some of this stuff is just like shit. In a million years, I wouldn't have thought of that. So. Yeah. So it would be Marvel movies or Marvel, just the TV shows, but music number one. It would be my favorite.
All right. Yeah. Javier, you still there?
All
right. we'll give him a minute. Oh,
he's back.
He's back.
Sorta.
Kinda. He's muted and he's.
So you there?
I'm here. I didn't hear the question.
Okay. Now I lost my card. Hold on. What has inspired you outside of comics? What's influenced your creating outside of comics?
Outside of comics, it's animation. Because animation has everything that comics has. It just moves. So trying to figure out the beats, trying to figure out the over the shoulder close-ups and how to pan out, how to make a scene feel more dramatic, how to push the action. Animation just does everything that we want to do in comics. Yeah. So I feel like if I can further understand what's going on in the animation that I'm enjoying, then I'll make better stories.
What's your favorite animated movie, and aside from Frozen?
Say that one more time.
I said, what's your favorite animated movie aside from Frozen?
Aside from Frozen. So, I mean, Incredibles is up there. Encanto is up there. Coco, Moana.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you talk about like animated movies, those are the movies that I like. I love Young Justice for the animated serials. My Hero Academia, I was watching that before it became like I got lucky and I saw it on Hulu when it was still subtitles, and I was like, yo, this is gonna be the next big thing, and that thing blew up because it's like a great mix of Naruto and Justice League. But you got those two. Naruto, of course, is a classic. What else am I looking for? Yeah, I mean, Studio Ghibli. Miyazaki just makes, he takes an idea and he makes it so spiritual while still connecting it to the real world. And I think that's an amazing feat to be able to do, because a lot of people don't want to see that in most mainstream stuff. But he makes it so it's so entertaining and so engaging that it's like there's no way you can not watch it.
Yeah.
I think Miyazaki is definitely in the upper echelon of like animation.
Recently, I saw that it's a head trip, but I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Hit Monkey. It's
Hit Monkey.
I know
Hit
it. I have
Monkey.
seen it.
Yeah.
It's
That's on
The only
Amazon?
one I couldn't get into it.
Is that on Amazon or Hulu?
Hulu.
Hulu. Yeah.
I think
Hulu.
it's on Hulu. One of the only properties that's not on Marvel that's a Marvel product somehow.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. Haven't watched that one yet.
It's a head trip.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard good things about it.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's a head trip.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm gonna watch Hit Monkey, I'm gonna watch Archer.
Gotcha.
That's very similar tone.
I feel like the guy that starts off the show, like that's Archer right there.
it's that's what came to mind when I first started watching it.
Not familiar either. I haven't watched Archer and I haven't watched Hit Monkey, so I don't know. I guess maybe I gotta watch it.
Yeah, you need to watch it.
Archer's like five seasons deep. Definitely want to check out Archer. Archer's a problem though, because Archer has a lot of craziness going on, but it's a guilty pleasure.
Gotcha. No.
He's too busy having successful Kickstarters. Yeah, watch cool cartoons. I'm busy.
This is hey, some of us got to do something, Anyway, for my influences, for me it's prose writing and some film, but primarily prose writing, I would say, outside of comedy. So, what are your influences, Mr. Lanning?
What I've gotten into lately and paid attention to, we talked about a couple weeks ago about what artists we wish would, had, or somebody, artist, writer, doesn't matter, would not very well known would come out, and I said Bo Welsh, who was a production designer on things like Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, so on and so forth. So a lot of things that have inspired me lately is basically the aesthetics of movies. Like there was a movie from years ago. It's the French movie called City of Lost Children.
Oh yeah,
and it's and just the way the production, the backgrounds feel, the way the production is, the way the costumes are, it kind of adds. I'm trying to see how important atmosphere is into what you do, because a lot of times it's not necessarily how well something is drawn or how well something is done, as much as it can portray an atmosphere that makes you feel a certain way.
Right. I got you. It's funny. That's one of those movies that I start watching it and I never finish.
Oh.
I have to sit down. Like I keep telling myself, I have to finish watching this damn movie.
It's Ron Perlman. It's Ron Perlman speaking French. I mean, come on.
I know.
That.
I know. Well, I like weird movies, and that's a weird movie. And I'm like, why the hell? I sit down, and watch 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'll watch the rest of this later, and I never come back to it.
It's a very slumber type of movie. It reminds me a lot of 12 Monkeys to an extent that that Terry Gilliam Brazil feel to it, but almost muted at the same time. Once you get past the 30 minutes, it gets really good. So
I haven't watched it in years. My buddy, who's a filmmaker and loves weird movies, We sat down and we watched it, but it's been years ago. But I remember enjoying it. But it's a weird movie.
It is.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but it's one of those from the Blockbuster days. You'd see the box.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, because just the feel and the look of it stands out. So
Yes,
that's.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, guys, I know Patrick and Javier, when he gets back, they have Kickstarters going on, so I just want to pull them up. Okay, so there we go. So, Patrick, tell us about Gage and the Dragon's Tear.
Oh, I'm so horrible still about talking about myself and my own stuff. That's one of the most difficult things about the process. Yeah, so it is a medieval comic. I'm up to the 3rd issue. That's the one I'm working on right now. The first 3 books, the first book. So basically, some people have appreciated this and some people have not. I basically wrote that as a graphic novel. But of course, once you get down to production, it's like you're a newbie. You're not going to get people to back you for 8 books. So you got to break it up into several books. So the first book introduces the main character, Gage. And the first 3 books introduce kind of all the main characters. And then book 4 will start mixing it up. All that artwork is Donnie right there. Colors are by DC Alonso. And Ed,
You got a great team.
Yeah, Ed Duke did the letters. So yeah, there you see. That's kind of that kind of gives you the gist right there. Georges Jonty, this is the first time I've experimented with the variant cover. Georges is a local guy. He lives, in Atlanta, kind of near me. I had met him at several cons and was like, let's try to do this variant cover thing and see if we can make it work. So that's a Frazetta homage cover that he did, also colored by DC.
Nice. Yeah, I have the same issue as yourself, Patrick. I don't like really talking about my work. So I talk about the artists.
Yep. It's weird. Like you get into creating stuff and you find out that the comics business is the marketing business, just like every other business.
Yeah.
And that's always a difficult thing. I haven't quite learned how to navigate that as well as I'm going to need to.
Yeah.
That's all issue 1 right there. That was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. It's
yeah. No, Donnie pulled up
luckily
some...
Donnie's a solid artist, so it's like his work pretty much sells it.
Yes.
Seems like.
Yeah. See, hey, question with Donnie. I've been wanting to work with him.
Yeah.
So is he quick with the turnarounds? Is he good?
I think it really just depends on how busy he is when you catch him. And the other thing too is I am still working at a significant deficit, which is why I'm only on book 3. Of course, I'd love to do the 8 Kickstarters that the JD. I can't do that and stay married just yet. So I only ever have to have him do a couple pages at a time. I'll do like 2 pages a month until I build up enough to put a preview together. And then I work towards the Kickstarter and keep having him chip away at it. So I think just going to depend on when you catch him and how much stuff he's got going on at the time.
Gotcha. Well, I'll let you in on my secret. What I had done was I started off. I got very lucky. I had a windfall of cash, probably about $5,000 that was just sitting in my lap. And most people, go on vacation or something, put it to retirement. What did I do? I started doing comics. That's what I did. So.
Well, and that's basically what I do instead of going to bars or driving a fancy car or any of that type of stuff. It's like, This is what I do with my money is like, it would be fantastic. And that's the ultimate goal, I think, for me is like get it to break even. And if I could get to break even, I'll do this forever.
Yep. No, I got you, man. It's, Yeah. Guys, just to let you know, I've backed his last 2 campaigns. I'm backing this campaign. This is a great book, man. This is a really, really good, solid book. I really enjoyed this book. So anybody who's watching, you might want to check this out. Awesome book. All right. So let's.
I'll be backing it.
All right, Mr. Javier. Listen, I'm gonna pull up Mr. Javier's campaign just to pop it for him. Hold on, because of course, Actually, you know what? Let's do this one. Let's give him a little bit more time.
I think in the comments he said he bailed for the night.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So
Yep,
you know what?
and have a great night. Yeah.
Yep.
He's
Gotcha. All right. Well, all right. So, you know what? Let me pull up his campaign anyway.
Yeah.
So at least we'll give him a pop, and then then we can move on to I can show Carlos's. Give me a second. Wow, and this is his book, Another Reason to Smile. I just interviewed him last night. It was a great interview. Cool dude. I love his look. The look of his book is, it's obviously a book for kids, and it's a fantastic looking book. It has like just great heart, So if this is something, if you have kids, you might want to just go check this out, because it's a fantastic looking book. And then he has like he was doing this thing with all of these different other independents. Like he has a lot of in Kenya and all these other guys and all these characters from other independent comics. So like he brought them into his books. So he's doing a nice crossover, which is really cool.
Cool.
see
So like I said,
Pinkwing in there.
there's what?
Pink, one of the characters, the indie character.
Oh, Pinkwing.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'm not familiar. The only one I know is La Boy in Kenya. So, but yeah. So look, go check it out. It's Another Reason to Smile, and this is book 3. So he has the other 2 books available. So
Yeah, I have the first 2 because he actually came all the way to. We've hung out. We had dinner together. He came all the way to Seattle and did Emerald City Comic Con.
oh, nice.
And I was able to pick up his first book. Then I backed his second Kickstarter. So yeah, I need to get this one to complete the set.
All right, cool. Like I said, if you have kids, I think this is perfect for them. All right. So, and then I have one more to share out because I know I need to get some working in the background, damn it.
Got to get you a producer, huh?
Seriously, I really do. So yeah, Carl, is this the page you were talking about?
That was one of the pages that he just did. It's a whip, and it's got some of the characters there are some indie verse characters that for people who bought in. Marvelous there and Meta Prime. And then a couple of my characters. And then there's, and if you scroll down a little bit more.
On the actual page?
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Because that's just a whip.
Here?
No,
keep going.
Yeah. There's my cover. That's the homage cover to Clash of the Champion that's coming. And that's 30 different characters from all around the Indieverse. So
Nice.
if you keep going down here, you'll run into the page. No, not that one.
Is that officially doing that cover?
Huh?
That multi-character cover, was that officially?
Yeah. That's officially cover. Yep.
Nice.
Not that one.
That's not official. Who's it?
No, that's Aditya Rachdi, and he's the artist for Team Supremacist.
Gotcha. I like it anyway. Where did you see officially?
There we go.
Yeah.
Keep going up. You got to go up. Keep going. That's where I wanted you to stop, but there's the officially cover.
Oh, this is official. Okay, gotcha. Okay. But this is where you wanted me to stop, right here?
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Giant size homage.
Yeah, that's the X-Men, the giant size X-Men homage. Before that.
This one?
Yeah.
Nice.
And that one's got, again, it's the Team Supremacist up top, and then some of the newer team members at the bottom. And then some of the new pages that Aditya's turning in, which I'm really happy with. So he tried to redo that one. That's the one that I was talking about earlier, that he redid. And see at the very top, he got all those guys lined up,
Right here.
and then he changed it to where it was a close up of like 3 or 4 of them. It's like, I appreciate your trying to improve the dynamics, but those characters are there because people paid in for those. For those appearances. Those are buy-ins. So you wasted time.
Nice.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
And then I was saying that's the best Metal Morph. That's the way I envision Metal Morph. And even Fish, who I love Fish, but he draws him very skinny. And Metal Morph is a little bit more beefy. And I'm like, okay, this is the way I like him to be portrayed.
Gosh. Okay, this is the Fish Lee cover.
Yeah. And those are characters from overall there's almost 40 characters. 10 of them are mine, and then 30 of them are from all sorts of different creators.
Cool.
And we're doing a big 48-page one shot that's takes place on a prison planet, Procol Carcerum, and it's going to be just a great fun book. And Team Supremus is basically the prelude to that.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. Looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Where are we? Mr. Lanning, did you ask the last question or did I ask the last question?
I did.
You did? So you're putting the pressure back on me? All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Nice. All right. So we'll see if we can wrap it up with this question. Tell me of a series, and I'm talking about a comic book series, right? And it could be a run. It could be anything that, it could be a limited series, a one shot. Like, what's the comic that you go back to all the time to reread? What's the book that you've read 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, or more, I believe we're up to Damion.
I think the book that I read every year, and I mean every year, is Dropsy Avenue.
Which one?
Dropsy Avenue, Will Eisner.
Oh, right. Yes. I have that.
I just love it. And it's Will Eisner. And it's I won't say it's some of his best work because that's not for me to decide. But it's one of my favorite pieces of his work. And it's something that I find it's hard for me to reread things because I have pretty good recall. And it can take me a couple of years to forget something that I've read enough to be able to actually reread it. I'll look at the artwork all day. Like, I'll flip through something and maybe look at the artwork. But that's something I actually read and ingest. The artwork's amazing. The story's great. It's an experience more than just a read. Other than that, too many. That's something I actually enjoy reading and ingesting and putting back into my brain. I have stacks of comics where I'll just if I get blocked or something, I'll flip through them and, ranging everybody and anybody out there. So if there's the one thing I could say specifically would be Dropsy Avenue.
Okay. Fair enough. Carlos, what do you got?
I got 4. All right. Number 1 of Thor's, Walt Simonson's Thor run. I mentioned that earlier, so that gets touched on all the time. Arthur Adams, the Long Shot series. I read that probably twice a year.
And
I'll go
Nacenti?
back. And Nacenti. She's that's a cool chick right there.
Yeah.
And then Excalibur, the one shot special that came out first before the first issue. Love that, just love that, and it came out at a great part of my life that just enhanced the whole thing. My first daughter was born, my first child, so
Nice.
I was and then lastly would be the inspiration for the Remarkables would be the Justice League series. J.M. DeMatteis, Keith Giffen, and Kevin Maguire. I read probably the first 12 issues, so I have gone through and done the whole run, but typically I'll read the first 12 issues at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Nice. Okay. Cool. And that Excalibur, that was Alan Davis.
Yes, Alan Davis and Paul Neary.
It's on the stack.
With
a good
Chris
book.
Claremont.
Yeah, back then it was all Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
Next on it was all Chris Claremont. Don't even worry about it. Yeah. That was before he got
It was in his contract.
Yeah. Patrick, what do you got?
Yeah, it's funny bringing up Claremont. So for me, it's definitely the Frank Miller, Chris Claremont 1 through 4 Wolverine limited series. That's
Nice.
probably that era right there is kind of where I started comics. So you got that, Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. I actually love that series, and then the whole Dark Phoenix saga. Kind of those are kind of the go back tos over and over again.
Nice. All right. Cool. Mr. Lanning, what do you got?
I'm not as cool as everybody here, but I do enjoy. I hate Fairyland. I know it's deep reading, but the colors, the shape, language, the writing in it is always fantastic. I like reading it. It's fun to read. But for a little serious, is Generation X, Bachelor Lobdell. You know, when it first came out, I remember when that first came out, that was such an impression on me. And especially the Age of Apocalypse issues, which was 4 issues, you know, and that I've set out to collect that whole spill. So yeah, that. So,
Okay. All right. Cool. I would suggest buying an omnibus.
well, I want that too, because what I want is the floppies, but I want the omnibus to read.
Gotcha.
So,
all right, that's fair enough. All right, let me see if I can rattle off this list real quick. Frank Miller's Daredevil run in its entirety. So it's him, Mazzucchelli, everything, and that also includes the Elektra. So anything with Daredevil, the Elektra, that whole thing. I have it in the omnibus, and that's pretty awesome to read like that. Walter Simonson Store is also on that list. Let's see. Planetary by Warren Ellis. I feel that's one of my favorites. Sandman, I probably read every other year or every third year. I pull them out and I start rereading them again. Alan Moore's Miracle Man, I've read a number of times. Dynamo Joe, damn robot book from the 80s that they're finally putting back together. That they're remastering and they're gonna re-put it out. So I'm real happy about that. Elementals is also one of those things I'll pull out every now and again and reread. So I think that's pretty. There's a couple more, but it can get pretty extensive.
You reminded me of one of because Chris Bacalo, and of course with Sandman, the high cost of living.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
His cat muted him. You're still muted.
You're still. But that
you're muted. You're muted. Can't hear you.
He does that at least once every time I he comes up and decides I'm going to pull the plug on you. You're not paying enough attention to me. So high cost of living. My kids, when they were little, actually when is Dee Dee?
Nice.
For Halloween a couple times. So
Mhm.
we got pictures of those. They're like, oh yeah, I remember when that, because they love that. They love. I would read it to them. So yeah, that's such a great series.
Well, that was one series that I liked was the and I think they're about to actually have a TV series for it. Was the Dead Boy Detectives, and
Oh yeah.
well, that was a really interesting one. So that I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind saying. I think they had them on the Doom Patrol. Well, they did have them on the Doom Patrol. I don't think, but so you might actually see death
right.
because they were running from death. So you might see an incarnation of death eventually on, I guess, the small screen. So
That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, they're doing the Sandman series.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Right.
it's Netflix.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you'll eventually see death.
It looked pretty good, actually, from what I saw the trailer. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I'm waiting. See, and Neil's working on it, so I have some faith that it'll be good. You know, that's all I'm. You know, he's working on it, so I think it'll pan out. You know.
So what do you think? What do you think about the whole the thing of her being black?
I don't. Does it really matter? You know what I mean? That's how I look at it.
Because
I'm like,
I was because it's been taking a few hits in the media about it.
Yeah.
About the race swap from Dee Dee being white, and then in the Netflix, or is it Netflix that's doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They picked a black actress to play the part.
See, the thing is that she's not white. She's gray.
Yeah, she is. She's dead.
You know, and that's probably like Gamora. You know, if you see the actress that plays Gamora, she's a relatively dark woman, but she's green, right? When you see her, on screen. So why not make her gray? She could still be the same actress. It's just makeup.
Yeah,
right?
She's supposed to be a goth. She's supposed to be I guess, a dead goth chick. So.
Right.
Well, say that's what I can understand. The change in it is because at that point in time, that was kind of a stylistic choice, considering what was going on at the time. The Cure.
Yeah, the goth was really in at that time.
Right. So there might be a stylistic choice behind it. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, here's the one thing she needs to do for me: be good in the role. That's it. She's good in the role. That's all that matters. That's pretty much all I got for that one. So gentlemen, we made it to the end. All right, we've been at this for a minute.
No.
Thank you guys for being here. You guys are all fantastic. Go check out Patrick's Kickstarter. Go check out Javier's Kickstarter. They're both great books. And let's start with Mr. Carlos. Please let everybody know where they can find you and your work, sir.
Oh, you can find me at championcomicsgroup.com. You can find me at facebook.com/Champion Comics Group, or Carlos Raphael Writer, or whatever it is. And so you can also on Twitter, it's Carlos F. Raphael, and on Instagram, it's at Champion Comics Group.
All right, cool. Mr. Patrick, where can they find you and your work, sir?
I am only on Facebook, Patrick Kellner, and then my publishing page is West of the Sun Comics.
All right, nice. Mr. Damion, where can they find you, sir?
Everywhere I want to be. No, are you
He's omniversal. That's fine.
I am all over the place. Nice. And all I'm going to say is, look at that little dude up there. How can you say no to that face?
Aww.
Look at this. Look at him. Back at this project. Look at this. Look.
Well, from what I'm looking at, I'm looking at JD. You're pointing to JD, so
I thought he was pointing at Carlos.
I'm just saying, like, come on.
I actually said I was going to start using pictures of Ethan to pimp my project based on the interactions I get. Project post versus post of him. Clear difference in interaction.
My son did cons with me for years, and I had a little picture of him just looking sad at the camera, and I put I has shoes. Please buy my book. I just set it on the table just to see reactions.
That's
Really?
funny. That's funny.
That's when
Well,
he made the 1,200. No,
Yeah, there you go. It wasn't the art.
It wasn't.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I mean, listen, I have to say, Patrick, we might have to borrow your son. You may have to borrow your son sometimes because this was the least F-bomb show we've ever had. So,
Everybody's self-censored.
yes,
It's usually the F-bomb show here.
that's true.
I'm sorry if he ended up being a distraction. He's asleep.
not at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Mom was. I was trying to. Now you know, JD, why this is a little bit of a. I've been struggling to get onto one of these because it's like my wife's a nurse. I never know when she's going to be here, and trying to juggle him too. So
My cat's more of a distraction. Unplug him the other time.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Mr. Lanning, where can they find you, sir?
You can always find me at Linktree/C Michael Lanning. And that's got everything: Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, in and out, around the bend, whatever.
All right, cool. So you can find me here on YouTube every Sunday, sometimes during the week when I'm interviewing somebody. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all under JD Calderon, and the OswaldChronicles.com, TallTalesOnline.com, and DeviantArt under the Oswald Chronicles, or even JD. There you go. Fantastic. Look at that. Nice. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, look. Oh, there you go. There you go. Everybody's got their books. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll be talking to you all soon. You guys are all fantastic, and we'll be back next week. And
Thanks so much, JD.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.